Hello everyone, my name is Celine Chan. I am proud to be a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer stage 2 sometime in May 2017. Most important part of the healing process for me and getting through the whole cancer journey is having the person I love with me every step of the way. In my case, my husband, Colin, was the person with me and by my side throughout the whole process. He was with me at every doctor's appointment, understanding what steps were needed, asking the right questions, and also ensuring that I get the best treatment option. When it was time to make decisions, he and I both discussed options with the doctors, and we made the decisions together. He also participated with me in every cancer support group sessions, and that helps, yeah. And we made such wonderful friends along the way. So, thank you, my darling husband, Colin. I love you forever.
See, I got so excited that I forgot to unmute myself. Good afternoon. This is Malu from Hearts&Minds Development Center. For those who have joined us, welcome. And for those who may not be joining us now or joining us later, welcome too. I hope you watched the video, and I have a very special guest. I know Celine for years. She was a client first, who then became a friend. And of course, as friends, we share. And every time I'm amazed at her strength, when I knew she had cancer and she, went through the treatment, the one thing she kept shouting out about was how great her husband was, right? Or is. And of course, when you have a woman shouting out for the husband, then you get to meet the husband. And I'm very, very privileged to bring us this man, Colin Paulding, who not only help us find inspiration about healing, not once, but 3 times in the name of love. Let's find out the story. So please put your hands together wherever you are, say hello to us, and let's welcome Colin Paulding. Welcome, Colin.
Hi, Marla, how are you?
I am good. And did you like the video?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
I knew that. Okay, yeah. So that's your darling wife.
Yeah.
Who never stops singing your praises to me, and so I wanted to check you out to see whether she's not making up stories about how great you are.
Oh, she probably is.
Yeah. And so just to make sure that we're not making up stories, we decided let's get you into this public platform. So Colin, thank you so much, first and foremost, for saying yes to the show and
Pleasure.
saying yes to me. And I think I've just only met you. We've spoken we've, just looked at each other whenever I'm talking to Celine.
Yeah.
But I've heard a lot of stories about you. We wouldn't say it's good or bad. But, finally, when I really, connected with you for this show, I am beginning to swallow my own words. Oh my goodness, Celine is right. Okay, so welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you, Colin. So where you're from, because you don't look like you're from this part of the world.
No, I'm not. I'm English. I'm very proud of being English.
Okay.
I actually come from a town in Dorset called Poole, which for those people who will probably not have heard of it, it actually has the second largest natural harbour in the world after Sydney. It's a beautiful place on the south coast.
Right.
And for those of you that wouldn't have a clue where it was, if you watch football and EPL, it's right next to Bournemouth. And we like to say Poole, actually, because we don't like to be associated with Bournemouth. But I actually was born there, brought up there, and lived there for the first 22 years of my life before I went gallivanting around the UK in different jobs in different places. And then in '96, I ended up in Singapore for doing a startup for an Australian company. And Celine at that time was working for the company in KL. And that's basically how we met. She came to Singapore.
Did she come to Singapore to you?
Well, no, she came to Singapore because it was a business. So we were starting the business in Singapore. I worked for that company. I worked for the company in the UK, and they brought me out to Singapore. And so she was coming down because the KL business was more established. So basically, it was to talk through things. And actually, they forgot to tell me she was coming down to see me. So the first time we met, I wouldn't say it was actually love at first sight, but we both.
For her.
No, absolutely not. Nor for me. I walked into my office on a Monday morning, and there was this person sitting at a desk on a phone, and I'm thinking, who the hell are you? Because they'd forgotten to tell me that she was coming down to see the business and see the business that we bought and that we were starting. So, yeah, it wasn't exactly love at first sight. It was like, and her reaction was, "And who do you think you are to look at me like that?"
And that's what Celine, if you're listening, please say hello on comments so that you know.
No, she's not. She's in another meeting at this very moment.
Okay, nice. So, and then, so you met, okay, it was love at first sight for Celine.
No, absolutely not love at first sight. Absolutely not.
And then you fell in love, and then you got married.
Yeah, not quite as quick as that, though. We met in '96, and I had a 3-year contract in Singapore, and that was close to coming to an end. And we were talking about were we going to extend the contract or not, and nothing had happened. And then I had a call to go back and head up a different startup for a different company in the UK. So I was headhunted to go back to the UK to run a new business in the UK. And so there wasn't any other offer on the table at the time from the company I was with, and it had got to within 3 months of the end of the contract. So New Year's Eve, 1998, I signed a contract to go back to the UK. I was in KL at the time celebrating New Year. And so we were out that evening, and Celine knew that I had accepted the job because I talked to her about it. And I said to her, I really want you to come back to the UK with me. But I said, I know there's only one way that you'll come back to the UK. So will you marry me? And so that was New Year's Eve, December 98. And we got married on the 27th of March, 1999, 3 months.
Nice. Even though it's not so romantic to ask a woman that, that's the only way I can take you back. But yeah, it's a nice story. Thank you. Colin.
Well, it was the only, but I wanted to take her back, and it was the only way I could take her back. So if she wanted to follow, that was the only way we could make it work. And I think that what that did was probably preempt what was always going to happen, that we were going to get married. But I think that because we were both happy doing what we were doing, me in Singapore and her in Kuala Lumpur, the long distance relationship was working. Every weekend we would see each other. One of us would travel. And I think that, therefore we weren't prepared to, I think at that point, we couldn't see, maybe neither of us could see the reason to try and rock the apple cart, so to speak. But me going back to England, it wasn't going to work. Nice. There was no way that relationship, and it wasn't a relationship I was prepared to give up on just because I was out here and then going back to England. So we went back to England.
Nice, nice. And so thank you for the love story, between you and Celine, because we are, in a topic called Love Heals. And Michelle Tan says, hello, Mother, really? Yes, love heals. Yes, Michelle. Wait until you hear Colin Day's love story. So you've been married to Celine for a bit now. You have 3 daughters. And yeah. And you guys, you homeschool your 3 girls?
There came a point where I finished a big contract here, and it was a case of, did I take something else or did I homeschool? Because I wasn't happy about a number of things. Number one, Celine and I were both busy people, which meant we had a maid bringing up the children, which perhaps wasn't the way that we would want them bringing up. I wasn't happy about the schooling, the education, even though we were paying for international school. I really wasn't happy. I considered it to be expensive for not a great sum of money, and I suddenly went, you know what? I'm going to homeschool them, and I did homeschool them. I did not send them to a centre. I homeschooled them at home, and it was the best decision we ever made.
Nice.
We brought the children up how we wanted. Yes, I'm lucky I was an older father. We were in a position that we could afford to give up my income, and that was great. And I had something which most fathers don't get. I had the most amazing time bringing up and teaching 3 daughters.
Nice.
Who, by the way, are very strong, independent women. They're now 22. They will be 22 soon. One will be 20 soon, and the other will be 18 soon. And nice. They're all now in further education. So Dad did something right getting them through his.
Nice. And from the story that you're telling me, they're still friends with you. That means you did a good job.
Yeah, they're still friends. Well, most of the time they're friends with Dad.
Nice. Thank you, Colin. Yeah, so, lovely. I hope this inspires a lot more people to look at parenting differently.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to have a man speak from his point of view. Now, moving on, one of those things that I think it's for those who know Celine, and you will know that Celine had cancer. And both of you have been very open about it, and that your story has actually inspired a lot of people who know you, right? But what we want to talk about today is, Celine always says, whenever I see Celine, or when she was recovering, whenever I caught up with her, and she always says, Malar, my husband looked after me like a baby. This is what I remember. Because when people have any major illnesses, I'm really bad at this, because I know it's difficult, but I really honestly don't know how difficult it is, because I've never been that close, right? And I know Celine, and just to see her, and I said, how are you? And she said, I am so good. And she was so happy, and that was shocking for me. And she said, that's because I'm in the best care. My husband looks after me like a baby. This is what I remember over and over again. Colin, about how you spoiled her. She said how you and the 3 girls spoiled her. So tell us a little bit. When about the discovery of the cancer, and we'd love to hear from a man's perspective, from a husband's perspective, one who chose to be the main caretaker, right? Tell us about, firstly, how you felt like a human being, because we know there's that superhero in you too, which we'll come to. But as a husband, who loves his wife so much, to know that she has an illness, what happened with you, and how did you then move on to take on the role of a caretaker and the superhero?
Well, I guess the caretaker role became relatively simpler because I was now a full-time caregiver to the girls. I was teaching them, so I was home. So that, in a way, that helped vindicate the decision we made earlier for me to, at 53, sorry, a bit younger than that, 52, to decide to give up work and teach the children, because I felt that they needed individual education, not anything else. And they are three very different children and have three very different needs. So it helped that I wasn't trying to keep down a full-time job, although I was managing education, I was managing the children, I was managing the home, I was doing everything. So yeah, it was, we discovered the growth, the lump in Celine's right breast. And, you know, I said to her, this is not right. We need to do something about it. And so we found a breast surgeon. And the day before we were due to go to see the breast surgeon, the appointment was cancelled. And they said, oh, she can see you in 3 or 4 weeks' time. And I said, Celine, 3 or 4 weeks is too long. So Celine looked up and found another breast surgeon. And I have to say, there was a reason that it was cancelled. We found the most amazing breast surgeon who spent a lot of time with us. So when we went to the hospital, I think we both already knew that Celine had cancer. I think we both already accepted that she had breast cancer, or it was almost certain, because this lump had grown very quickly. It was very irregular in size. You know, I could feel it. It was just, that's what we thought. But that still doesn't prepare you for the moment the doctor says, you've got cancer. Even though we were expecting that, when you hear it, it's not the same. And so that was a shock. And then I put on my logic hat, and I then start questioning the breast surgeon, Dr. Aslina. And Celine did feel sorry for her. I didn't, because we were paying her, but that's me. No, she's
sorry for anyone who talks to you.
Well, no, but I mean, she was just, you know, she's a lovely person. But this particular time, as far as I was concerned, you've just told Celine she's got cancer, and now you are going to answer my questions, and I don't care how long it's going to take. But we got on to know her very well, and we have we talked a lot afterwards. So we spoke for nearly 3 hours that day. And I think it was quite strange, because my first reaction was, well, just cut the damn thing off. Have done with it. Get rid of it. What did it matter? If Celine had a mastectomy, it just didn't matter. Get rid of the cancer, right? And I think Celine was a bit taken back by my bluntness at this point, as was the consultant. He said, no, she said, we like to work for preservation. I said, well, sorry, logically, just cut it out, get rid of it, and that's going to help. And she said, no, we need to try and look for preservation. We like to try and preserve the breast. So we said, okay. I said, okay, but, you know, it doesn't bother me. If that's what we've got to do, that's what we've got to do. And then on the Tuesday, we went for a guided biopsy, ultrasound biopsy, so that they could actually determine what type of breast cancer she had and how aggressive the tumor was. And I think at that time, that's when you are most questioning. That was probably the toughest week, because at that point we knew she had cancer. At that point we didn't know what the cancer was. At that point we didn't know how aggressive the tumor was. We knew nothing. So on the Wednesday they confirmed it definitely was cancer, and we were then going to see her on the Friday. And again, when we went to see her on the Friday, I think by the Friday it was quite interesting. I had changed to maybe, you know, well, let's look at preservation if that's what they can do. And Celine had changed her mind to saying, oh, let's just have a mastectomy, get rid of it, and it'll all be good. So in a way, we had changed our position, and I think perhaps that was good, because maybe Celine said, well, I don't really mind. It's not a problem for me. It's not Celine. It's just part of her, but it's not who she is as a person. Well, when we got there on the Friday, there was no choice. It had to be a full mastectomy. The lump was too close to the skin, to the top of the skin. It was an extremely aggressive tumor, evidently they mark tumours out of 9 for aggressiveness, and there are three tests that they do, and each test carries a maximum score of 3, and then they add up to see whether it's an aggressive or non-aggressive tumour. Celine's tumour scored 3 on everything, so she had a 9 out of 9, which meant it was an extremely aggressive tumour. The good news was she had the good breast cancer. So at that point, we didn't know. So there's a breast cancer, which is, you know, if you have the negative, the HER-negative, it's hard. It is often at some point a death sentence, although they can prolong your life. What we had was, if you're going to get breast cancer, get the one that Celine got. And that was the good thing. So it's estrogen fueled. So at that point, we had another 3-hour conversation with Dr. Aslina, where we talked extensively about what the treatment options were, what the reconstruction options were, whether we would reconstruct, whether we wouldn't reconstruct. And both Celine and I said there will be no foreign bodies in her body. So none of this silicone, no way. So we then opted for a reconstruction which uses Celine's own fat and muscle to reconstruct the breast. So that's what we opted for. And we had a long conversation with her. And so we moved on from that. And at that point, I felt this is okay. This is a good breast cancer. She's a strong person. She's healthy-ish. She has suffered from high blood pressure. And I think if you saw in the picture, you would have seen a very small baby in my arms. Our first daughter was born at 31 weeks, weighing 1.2 kg, and Celine was in hospital for 3 weeks before we had the baby. So, you know, we'd gone through some things anyway, and we had lots of trouble with we had some serious health issues with Cassandra very early. So at that point, I just felt this is not a problem. Celine will be perfectly all right. We are going to win this battle. We are going to get through it. The first thing was, let's go and have the operation because they can't do anything. So the decision we had to make was, do we do chemo first and then do the mastectomy, hoping that they can shrink it and then maybe it can be a lumpectomy, or do we just go and do the mastectomy and then? And I think that because we decided it was a very aggressive tumor, we said, no, let's not mess about. Let's be absolutely brutal here. It has to be the mastectomy. We didn't want to mess about. We just said, go for it. And so that's what we did with reconstruction.
Nice.
So we made a very, very clear, aggressive form of treatment from the very start, for which everybody was on board. And Celine's apologizing to Dr. Aslina, saying, no, I love it when the husbands and the wives come in and they grill me, because then it's not my decision, it's our decision that this is the right way forward. And she said, I know. So, you know, I grill them because, you know, I don't subscribe to trust me because I'm a doctor, right? Doctors are human. They sometimes get things wrong, and we have to understand. We have to understand ourselves before we could possibly do anything. Are we doing the right thing? And so there was no question in my mind that we'd made the right decision for Celine to have the mastectomy. That was absolutely the right decision. Yes, it was aggressive, but we were going to win this. We were going to win the war. The first battle was getting over the operation. So the night before the operation, 2 very close friends who know each other but live in different parts happened to be in KL from America, one of whom had been my best man at our wedding. So I checked Celine out of the hospital on the Thursday night. The operation was on the Friday, and we all went out and had a very good dinner the night before the operation. And so she had the operation on the Friday morning. It didn't go quite as smoothly as they'd hoped. It lasted a lot longer than they expected it to last, but these things happen. And she wasn't very well for the first day or two. On the Friday, she didn't come out the general anaesthetic very well. On the Saturday morning, she was very poorly. It was only about late Saturday afternoon she felt much better and started eating. So obviously in a great deal of pain, because she's gone through two things. Major trauma. She's lost her breast. That's major trauma for one. Doesn't matter how much I say it doesn't matter to me, which it didn't. It's still part of her body which is gone away. So there was that major trauma, both physically and emotionally. And she was in a great deal of pain because what they do is they pull all the muscle and the fat from the back to pull it round to make the reconstructed breast. So it's hard to explain, but if you can imagine that the muscle and the fat which is behind your back is pulled around, and she had a big L-shaped scar where they had to go in and do all of that. So a lot of pain. But by Friday night, she was in great shape. Saturday night, I stayed in the hospital. I stayed in the hospital because I knew she wasn't well, and therefore, so I slept in the hospital for 2 nights with her. I slept on the couch in the hospital room for 2 nights to make sure that she was okay. We had a couple of friends that were looking after the girls for me, which took that away from us.
Nice.
And then on the Sunday morning, so Celine had the operation on the Friday. The Sunday morning, Dr. Aslina comes in and she goes, "Yeah, this is good. Everything's okay." So I said to Dr. Aslina, "So what's Celine staying in hospital for?" She said, "Pain management." And I said, "I can do that at home. I want her out today." And really, I wanted her home because I needed to tell the girls that mum's okay. I needed the girls to see mum at home, not in the hospital. And number 2, I don't think you can heal as well in hospital as you can at home. She needed to have the girls around her. She needed to be at home, and I knew that I could look after her and do everything that they would do in the hospital. I was still doing some of that stuff. They weren't showering her, washing up. I was doing that. So why not do that at home rather than do it in the hospital? And that absolutely aided her recovery completely, because she came home to the girls. She came home to me. So she was back in the family environment. And so she healed very, very quickly. She was still in a lot of pain, but the healing process was absolutely, it was improved. It sped up significantly because we had her home. And I think that was the most important thing for us. We wanted her home. If you're home, you're healing. If you're in hospital, you're not healing, really. And because she had major surgery with major wounds, I also was very concerned that if she stayed in hospital, there was more chance of picking up an infection through the wounds. People who are in hospital are sick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And therefore, it doesn't matter how good the hospital is, there are still germs flying around in the hospital that you wouldn't have at home. It doesn't matter how good they are. That's a fact. We all know that. So I wanted her home, and I wanted to look after her, and that's what we did.
Thanks. So I mean, it's lovely to hear the journey and what you've been through and all. But I have a question for you, right? And I think it's an important question for me. From the time she was diagnosed, what I heard you say is that you were assuring Celine that it is okay for her to lose her breast, right? So what
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me, why did you think it was important for you to tell Celine that? It's not your breast, as you said it, right? It's her choice. It's her breast.
Yeah. Why is it important? Because I'm her husband. I love her for who she is, not the outer shell.
Nice.
But a lot of people don't see that in their wives. They see them, they marry them. Look, first and foremost, there's a physical attraction when you meet somebody before there becomes a deeper attraction. And so her physical appearance was going to change. And I think it was important for her to understand that that didn't bother me. Because if she thought that bothered me, then that may have impacted the way she thought she should be treated. And then if it was a mastectomy, as it ended up having to be, she may have felt guilty because, I'm not the person that my husband married. Right? That's not true. But you can have that, this is me. This is what I like about her, right? Yeah, of course. You like the whole person as they are, but things change, right? And so I just think it was important for her to understand that it didn't bother me what we had to do to win the battle. And I think that was important. And I think that sometimes we all make decisions, not just women, but men sometimes make decisions because they think that's what their partner wants them to say or do.
Yeah.
Because the partner actually doesn't say, I really don't mind, or it's okay, whatever decision we need to make. So I think it's important sometimes that you say what you feel.
Nice.
And I felt it didn't bother, it really didn't bother me. Right? And yeah, I'd rather she didn't have a mastectomy, but that's not from a point of view, but that's from the point of view of I knew the pain and how difficult it was going to be. But that it was from that perspective, not from any other perspective.
Thank
so
you.
that and I felt it was important she knew that I didn't mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much, because you kept repeating it, and I like the way you all shifted. And so it's important that I needed to hear it from you. Where were you coming from? I knew that you were trying to assure her of something, but to hear it from your mouth is actually really important, because you recognize that need in your partner, and you said it because you don't want to leave the silence be the interpreter, or you don't want to commit a sin of omission. A lot of us omit telling what we want to say, and we then wonder why the other person doesn't understand what you're feeling. And so thanks for sharing it so clearly. I'm just going to say hello to a couple of people who've joined us.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Gerald. Gerald says, afternoon, mother. Amazing topic. He also says, love is key and totally heals. And he also says, that's so true. You need your loved ones around you, and it heals the person. So Jer has been listening into your story. I suppose that's what she's saying. I'm going to say hi. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is another friend who's joined us, and we have said hello. So, Colin, thank you so much for taking us through your love story, and how from the diagnosis to the treatment to the decision making. How you all did it all together, with you doing the main thinking and supporting in the forefront, right? Even though, and you're very empathetic, because you're in touch with what she might be going through in losing a part of her. And you're also very in touch with what that probably means to her as a woman, right? Now, you would have seen Celine really closely, right? Just answer what you think is okay. If it's not okay, please don't answer it. But I'm just going to... Yeah. I just want to put that caveat, right? Now, as you watched this strong Asian independent woman Celine is, I mean, she is her own person, right?
Yep.
Now, as the person probably closest to her pain and recovery, right? What do you see as the struggle of a woman who is strong and independent, trying to get the support of the person who loves her? And this is not about this is for women. Yeah.
No. Okay. I'd like to think that she didn't have to try and get my support. I think she knew it was there, so she didn't have to ask for it. I think that one of the problems, or one of the challenges that a lot of women have who are strong, independent, and successful, is that they see asking for help as a weakness, not a strength. And that's partly because of the way society views things. A woman in power has to do a much better job than a man in power. That's a fact. It shouldn't be, but it's the way that people judge a man against a woman. A man will get away with a lot more than a lady will get away with, and so I think that the biggest challenge that she probably had was, what if I have to ask for help? She's not great at asking for help in that situation, because I think she sees it as a weakness. As I think many ladies do. And that shouldn't be, but it just is. But I don't think. But I'd like to think she didn't have to ask for the help; it was there. So I just think it was just the way it was, you know. And I think it's very difficult for most women, especially if they're strong, independent-minded, successful women. Very hard for them to ask for help, because if it's not done in the right way, people will see it as a weakness, and it isn't. It's a strength. It's a strength, in my opinion.
Thank you. I'm going to say this publicly. I love you. Now, and this is so important. What you're saying is so important, because I can relate to it. I have difficulty asking for help, and I think it's a weakness. So you're talking to me too. But tell me, if I have really good guy friends. My guy friends are really nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they won't be my friends, right? And I think one of the struggle for men is not understanding, especially when a woman is not asking, or is looking and asking for support, or expecting support. So what I loved about what you said is that, she should know that I will be here, not expect to help or to get support. I am here anyway, right? I love that part about the relationship. But not many men can express themselves as articulately as you do, Colin, which is what I love about having you here. But if there are men out there who are listening, right, and they are, their partners are, like what you say, strong, independent, and successful, and they're not asking for help, but you would know, if you know your partner, that you want to be there for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice to them? How do they deal with it, especially in the Asian context, right, where we are not used to? Now, we're not going to talk about culture. We'll have to bring you in another day. But but it is really not as easy, because they may not have had role models, or it may not be easy for them to take on the role of a caretaker, right? So what would you, how would you reach out to them in terms of how can they think about it, so they can, give the assurance that their partner needs?
I don't know. But what I would say to you is, I signed up to in sickness and in health. That's what I signed up to. And so the health issue and the sickness issue, it might not be a physical sickness. It might not be, the health might not be. I signed up to that. That's the vows that we took. And I just think you just have to try and be there. And I don't get it right every time. I get it wrong is probably quite often, right? We don't get it right every time, because we don't always read the situation right. But it's just saying, I'm here. What do you want? What do we need? It's understanding. When Celine was sick, it was understanding. And I did it willingly, and I did it because I wanted to do it. But it was my job to look after my wife. It wasn't anybody else's job. That's what I signed up for, right? Willingly, absolutely willingly signed up for. And will do it whenever I need to do it for her, because that's what marriage is about. That's what partnership is about. It's about being there for the other person when they need it. And sometimes we may not know what it is. So we just have to try and work it out by error and omission, and go there. So to me, I guess, having seen the way my parents were, I just guess that's the way it should be. That was the way it was. And so I guess it was the way that partly I was brought up, part of the way I saw my parents behave. It was a role model. It was the other way around. My father was extremely ill and my mother looked after him. So it just happened to be the other way around, but that's the way it was. So I think you've just got to be there. If you love somebody enough, that's what you'll do. And there was no way that what was the only way Celine was going to get through any of this was the complete support of me. And if I was supportive, the girls would follow along. If I was positive, the girls would be positive. If we were negative, the girls would be negative. I think you have to have that positive attitude that we are going to win.
Nice.
Even though there was a chance we wouldn't. But that small chance actually never entered our head. You know, we had an amazing fun time when Celine went through her cancer. We had so much fun. People don't understand that. We made it a journey of enjoyment, enrichment, and fun. We met some of the most amazing people on that journey. Some are not with us today, unfortunately. Some are. But it was an amazing journey. We took it positively. It was just what we wanted to do. You know, we didn't want to take the journey. It was a journey that we'd rather not take. But you know what? It's a journey I'm glad we took.
Thank you.
Because we learned so much about ourselves. We learned so much about other people. And we had so much fun. Really. We really did. I mean, we always try to arrange our chemotherapy for someone who became a good friend who's no longer with us. And he and I would have the whole chemotherapy ward and the nurses in stitches because we would just find everything very funny. So it's just have fun. You know, there's nothing else you can do.
Well, tell us the fun you guys made when you were expecting Celine's hair to drop. So tell us about that, because I thought that was for me. Just to let you know, that was a mind-blowing story for me, because I think I read some stuff on FB and to hear you say it. So tell us that story before we move into the stroke. Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so they had told Celine that her hair would drop after 2 weeks with the chemo. So her first chemo was on the Friday. So for me, 2 weeks was up on the Thursday. And she still had a full head of hair. Absolutely everything was there. And my girls were saying, Mum, when's your hair going to fall out? Mum, when's your hair going to fall out? You know, because they were all looking forward to seeing Mum looking a bit like Dad, you know, bit of a bow-tuck, really. So we had this fun. So I joked with her on the Thursday night. I said, darling, they didn't give you chemotherapy. They gave you placebo. You've still got all your hair. Friday morning, she got up, went in the shower, and she suddenly shouts to me, my hair. And her hair was just coming out in clumps. So I called the girls, and the girls came in and had a good laugh. We all had a good laugh about it. You know, it obviously wasn't a placebo. Mum, you did get chemotherapy, and sure enough, 2 weeks, the hair's falling out. And then that's it. We went and shaved it, and that was it. I called her my Botox twin. You saw the picture in the video. I think she looked absolutely amazing and very sexy with no hair. But you know, that's me. I'm her husband. But
no, even we think she looks absolutely stunning in her new hairstyle that matched you.
Yeah. So of course I said, that's really good news. I'm going to save a fortune on you going to the hairdressers. What I didn't realise is that she did buy a wig that was relatively expensive, never wore it, and we spent a fortune on scarves, on silk scarves for her to wear, because she felt more comfortable. And that's fine. The point was, what did she feel comfortable in? And so, you know, I think she looked absolutely stunning without anything. She said, I don't want to go there, but at home she always walked around like that. So when she went out, we found silk scarves. She had many different scarves which matched the different outfits. She felt really good about it, and that's what we did. And so it's about, how do you feel good and how do you make her feel good? And we had so much fun over that. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't something to be worried about. It wasn't something to be ashamed about. It was almost something to celebrate, because we know that the chemo is doing what it should be doing. After 2 weeks, your hair should fall out. The hair fell out. Therefore, it's doing what it should be doing. So that's really where we went. And by the way, before we started the chemo, we booked a cruise for when the chemo was finished. That's how sure I was that she was going to be okay.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I love the way you are forward-looking. I mean, the whole family is forward-looking, and how you actually inject fun to the factual situation of what's going to happen. Because I think a lot of us, including me, is, what we tend to do is that, you think of it as a negative event, you emote over it even before it happens. And by the
alert from Google Pass.
By the time it happens, it becomes really miserable. I'm just going to read a question.
Can I just say one thing to you? The one thing that we never questioned was why us. We always said, Celine's got cancer. Actually, we said, we've got cancer. We didn't see it as Celine. We saw it as, we have cancer. We now have to deal with that and find the best way to go forward. We never once asked why us.
Thank you.
And that's important because you got the diagnosis. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the idea of acceptance is coming through, right? Is the moment you accept it, you're ready to move it forward and move it positively forward. I'm just going to read, and this for me is personal and very important, coming from my very, very good friend Elizabeth.
Okay.
She's an amazingly strong woman, and I've told her this so many times. And for me to hear her say, write this publicly, Colin, I want to thank you for this. All this while for me, asking for help means you're weak. But after hearing Colin, I don't feel that way anymore. Elizabeth, you are really one of the strongest women that I know personally in my life. And, she is refusing to come on my show, Colin. I've been asking
Why?
her. I don't know, but never mind. That's a different story. Hopefully she will come after this.
Maybe she will.
Yeah, because I admire her so much and she rejects me all the time, but never mind. Aarti Joshi has put in an interesting question. You may have answered it partly. An incredible conversation with inspiration at every step. Thank you. We'll be back to catch the rest. She's from India. So curious to understand what in his upbringing created his strong empathy in him. Thank you both for this amazing sharing. So I think you need to talk about your parents' role, your parents as role model, and you spoke about marriage, how your mom looked after. Beyond that, is there anything that you remember consciously that actually brought about so much of empathy in you as a person?
I think at the end of the day, role models are important. And my father was ill for 5 years with serious heart trouble, couldn't do anything. It wasn't unusual at that time. I was at home. It started just when I was about 17, so I just got my driving license. It wasn't unusual for him to have a heart attack or something in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was up, get the ambulance, get out of the hospital, follow. And then my father was a very lucky man. He was one of the first people to have a triple heart bypass in 1977 in Guy's Hospital in London. And I was driving. My mother didn't drive at that point, and she didn't have a car license. She got one shortly afterwards, and I was driving her up to London 2-3 times a week. I would work, and I think at that time I was also very lucky. I had a very, very good. My first boss was very good. He understood the problem, and it was fine. Colin, you need to leave at 3 to take your mum to London to hospital. Just go. There was never talk about, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to do this. You just do it. And I would leave at 3 and we would get back about midnight and I'd go to work the following day and that was it. So I think I was very lucky that actually I remember a lot about my first boss. And one of the things that the first thing that he said to me, or not quite the first, but I walked in his office on the day I started. And I always remembered this, and I think it's something which keeps. He said to me, you will go further in the corporate ladder than I've gone. But just remember, when you're climbing the ladder, stepping on people will always come back because you'll go past them on the way back down. So be careful how you climb the ladder.
Wow.
That was probably the second or third thing he said to me after I walked into his office for the first day. Wow. And I've remembered that throughout the rest of my career. And that was a long time ago.
That's something I relate to because in my growing years, there are some who treated me well. There are some who treated me very badly. And life has been good because I've been able to meet some people who have treated me badly again. Probably in a reverse role, which I didn't expect, right? It would be the sweetest revenge. And
how embarrassing is it for them?
Well, I don't know whether it's embarrassing for them, but for me, it has been a great reminder never to treat anybody badly, because I don't know when my position is going to be reversed in the future. And that's something I live by, because I've seen it happening to me where, my position got reversed. Nice, thanks. So, Colin, I want to, before we go into, there's another question before that, right? I want to very quickly go into, so Celine, is recovering. We know, she's in remission and she'll be cancer-free in September. We know that.
September, that date is there, beginning of September, and we are going to celebrate.
Nice. And we'll celebrate with you online somewhere, somehow. Now, but, we do know also that, after all of this, that Celine had suffered 2 strokes, not one, but 2. So tell us, from your perspective, right? I mean, here you've just gone through one big battle, overcoming and celebrating the moments to be cancer-free. And then, you have another hit, which is a stroke. Now, so tell us, how did you now deal with, I can actually imagine how you dealt with her getting stroke. So tell me, what was it like now to suddenly be now, experiencing, looking at your wife experience a stroke? So tell me from a husband's perspective, and what did you do?
I think the thing that just went into I just went into, I guess I went into a mode of, we've got to deal with this. At that point, I didn't see her as my wife. I just saw her as someone who I knew was having a stroke. Now, the fact that she was my wife meant that I was there at the time, but I went into a mode of, I have to get her to hospital. Time matters. Okay. And so, of course, at that point, I'm not thinking about, is she my wife? I'm not thinking about anything other than I need to get her to hospital, because I'm a pretty logical guy. So logic kicks in. What do I need to do before emotion kicks in? And I guess, the one thing that we didn't address in the cancer was, I put together something I called Team Celine, which was a whole group. It wasn't just me and the girls, it was the doctors, it was the nurses, it was friends. They were Team Celine. What I was a project manager. My job was to make sure that she didn't have to worry about the small things, only the big things. So I made sure that she took the tablets. I made sure we went to all the appointments. I made sure we made them all. So I became that project manager for Team Celine. And I guess when she first had that, that's exactly what I did. I insisted the doctors didn't want me to be there when they were going to examine her for the first time. And I said, well, how are you going to communicate with her? She can't talk. You need to talk to me. They didn't really want to do that, but they had to. So, so my first reaction was, get her to the hospital. Then, obviously, after I got her there, I'm starting to think, how serious is this? How serious is this? How serious is this stroke going to be? Is it going to be a minor stroke? Is it going to be, well, no stroke is minor, whatever people might think. No stroke is minor. So that started to go through my mind. Is there going to be a long-term impact? Is there going to be a short-term impact? What's going to happen? I think what upset me more is that they sent her home on the Wednesday when she clearly wasn't very well. That I felt was very poor from the doctors. And that was done when I wasn't there. It wouldn't have happened if I'd have been there. But of course, I understand Celine, they offered her the chance to go home. Of course, she's by herself. She's going to say, I want to go home. On that occasion, I didn't think she was well enough to come home. And it wasn't about me looking after her. I was worried about, would there be another stroke?
Right.
And sure enough, there was. There was a second stroke on the Monday. Now, that was more frightening. Fortunately, I had a very good friend. I mean, that day, the first stroke, I was able to get her in the car, take her to the hospital, no problem. The second time, there was no way. I had to put her in my office chair, because we live on the 10th floor of the apartment. I had to put her in my office chair, wheel her into the lift. I called a friend who rushed over within 10 minutes to get here, and we bundled her into the car. And yeah, that morning, I didn't think she was going to make it. It was that bad. She had no strength. Her blood pressure was 70/40. She was just deteriorating all the time in the time that we took her to the hospital. And in addition to the stroke, she had an E. coli infection. So that was actually more. I think at that point, when she had the second stroke, I really think it was just, I kicked in, everything had to go away. I couldn't have any emotion. It just kicked in. This is what I've got to do. I couldn't think about what was happening, because if I had done, I don't think I could have got her to the hospital.
Right.
She was so ill. And even our friend who came and waited me in the hospital said, Colin, she looks really ill. And I said, yeah. I said, I don't know. I really didn't. That morning, I didn't think Celine was going to make it. That was tough. Throughout all of the cancer treatment, I never felt that way. When she had the second stroke, I was devastated, very concerned, because I thought my life partner, and more importantly, the mother to my children, wasn't going to make it. And that's how and our friend thought the same. Our friend was quite upset. She drove us to the hospital and stayed with me, and she was very concerned. She didn't think Celine was going to make that second one. That's how poorly she was. And at that point, I was thinking that. And I'm not someone that would normally think that, but at that point, I was thinking that. But I had to throw that to one side because I had to get her to the hospital, because she didn't want to go. It was a fight to get her to go. She's wanted to dress up to go to the hospital that Monday morning. I tell you, it was, well, you know, Celine, it was a fight to get her to go to the hospital. And I had to pick her up, put her in the office chair, and wheel an office chair into the lift and wheel her to the car, because she could not walk. But she was trying to tell Elizabeth, my youngest, and I want to wear this, I want to wear that, I want to wear the other. And we're going, no, you're not. You're going as you are. It was quite funny. But at the same time, it was, I think her refusing to go and wanting to get dressed probably helped me switch off and into a project manager mode, get her into hospital. Because I think that made me so angry that I just said, you're not doing this. And I think, you know, angry in a way that, why are you being so silly? You are not well. You just need to get to hospital. So not angry at her, but angry that she wasn't seeing the seriousness of where she was.
Yeah, because we sometimes get caught in the superwoman syndrome.
Yes.
That I can do it, and I can just still show up the way I think I should show up in the most difficult moment.
Yes.
Colin, thank you very much. I want to just I have two questions for you before I let you go. It's one.
Yeah, no problem.
I think what the major difference I see in the way you handled the cancer and the stroke is this. With cancer, you had a lot of communication, conversation, decision making as we. Whereas when it came to the stroke, it was you making the decision, you calling the shots, right?
Well, because she couldn't.
Yeah, of course. And we can see that. So Nate is asking, I think, a very relevant question. He says, how did you know the distinction between being overcompensating and annoying to help out or end up drowning? I mean, we know in the stroke situation, you were not drowning. It's like something that needed to be done. But under normal circumstances, right? How do you know when you need to, co-create, communicate, work together, and when do you make your decisions on your own without drowning the other person? And then
probably when she tells me. Probably when she tells me.
Tell us a bit more.
No, there are times when Celine will say, enough, I don't need this. And that's right. So I think sometimes you've got to listen to the other person. And sometimes, like with the second stroke, you've just got to say, I don't care what you're saying. This is what we're doing. In fact, even when she had the stroke the first time, it was a huge argument to get her to the hospital. Right? Huge. And in the end, I said, we're going. I don't care what you think. You are having a stroke and you're going. And it was only when I used that word that she actually went, oh, okay. But she didn't want to go. She still thought. And even when she was even on that Saturday, she was saying, I got to be out of here by Monday because I've got an important meeting at work on Monday. And I said, no, you haven't. So even at that point, she didn't think it was that serious. And that's when I had to. So it's very difficult. Yeah, of course, you're going to be annoying sometimes because you're going to be overprotective. Was I annoying? Yeah, I took her phone away after she had the stroke. She certainly wasn't impressed about that. But you know what? That's what she needed to heal. And she wasn't going to see that. And yes, I was annoying. But sometimes you've got to do what's right, not what people think is right. And so, yeah, Nate, from that statement, I'm always there to support. Sometimes it's a bit over the top, and I know that sometimes, and sometimes I'll be told it in no uncertain circumstances. And you just got to accept that sometimes you overstep the boundary.
Nice. Thank you.
But, we try not to.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, Colin, is that you're conscious of the boundaries. You're conscious of that, we need to co-create and do this together. But you're also conscious that sometimes you are in a better space to make the choice and decision. And when you have to, you will do that because you have your loved one's interest.
Yeah. But let me make it very clear. I do overstep the boundary sometimes because it's just, look, Celine's a very strong person. I'm a very strong person. So there are times when the boundaries get overstepped. We don't always get it right.
Yeah.
We don't always get it right.
I get it. Okay. Last question before we go into rapid fire for you is this, right, Colin? How do you think this whole journey of loving and healing, and being the person you are, in the way you've inspired all of us and the ones who will be watching this video later, how has this impacted your three girls?
I hope positively.
Has any one of them come back to tell you? I mean, do you talk about it and tell me what they've told you?
They have no fear of cancer. They know exactly what happens. They've seen their mum go through it. They've seen mum come out of it well the other side. Of course, some cancers are worse than other cancers, right? I'm not trying to do that. We got through because many people didn't get through. And doctors learn a lot more from those who succumbed to cancer than they will ever learn from what they did with Celine. And we recognize that and are grateful that, there are those that lost the battle, that lost their fight. And because of that, we won. Because of those that lost, we won. And we're grateful for that. And the girls have seen that. I hope the girls have seen positively what it means to care for people. I think that the girls understand the illness is not bad. So many people in Asia think cancer is terrible and they want to hide it. You shouldn't hide it. You should talk about it. I spoke to 240 women about breast cancer from a husband's perspective during a Pink October event. Why? Because I think it's important. I think it's important that they understand how we feel as a man when we see our wife going through it. And not everybody explains it properly. Not everybody cares. And there'll be guys out there that haven't got a clue what to do.
Yeah.
And just be yourself. Do what you think is right. Just do what you think is right. I hope that what we've done will rub off onto our girls. One of them is, they're all very caring in their own way, but one of them they've all done their own thing, but one of them has looked how I handled mum, how I would pick mum up, how I would do it. And in the end, she said, Dad, I can see that. I can do that, so I'll shower mum to save you having to shower mum. Right? So, yes. And they've all done different things at different times in different ways. So they're all as good as one another. But one has shown a different way of caring than the other, but all three care. And I hope that that's the positive outcome on the family.
Thank you, Colin. So, Colin, thank you so much. Dr. Bernard Fernandez said beautiful sharing. I want to really, really thank you for saying yes and sharing so candidly and vulnerably for all the things that you've been sharing. Before I let you go, I need to do what I call a rapid fire. You're in the series
so
called.
I have to dodge the bullets.
Yeah. But chances are you will be shooting it at me back, knowing you.
Okay.
But being whole, being me, all you need to do is finish the sentence. Being whole as a husband, finish the sentence.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Being whole as a husband, finish the sentence.
Loving your wife.
Oh, and you're not supposed to be romantic. Okay, Celine, all the best. Being me as a caretaker.
Being me as a caretaker. It's me. It's just part of me. I can't help but care for the one that I love. And that's who I am.
Thank you.
That's who I am.
I know I'm in love when?
I know I'm in love when? Well, I know I'm in love because I have the most wonderful wife.
Colin, thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you in person. Have a beautiful weekend. Celine, thank you for marrying this guy. And, thank you for making...
I hope, is she now listening or not? Can you see if she's there?
No, she's not here, but she will definitely listen in later and ask you all the questions later. We know that. And we probably have to do another interview to reconcile what you have come up with. So, Colin, thank you very much. Have a beautiful Friday. Have a beautiful weekend.
And you.
God bless you.
And God bless you. And thank you so much for the invite. It's been lovely to share. I'm happy to share because I believe that we have to look after our wives, and I believe that they need supporting, whatever they do. And she's very successful, but it's there because of the support of not just me, but the whole family.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. That was not just loud and clear, but I think that came out in a very loving way from a very dashing man all the way from another country. So thank you so much, Colin. You have a good day. I'll see you again when I see you. Bye.
Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. All right, that was Colin and Love Heals. So if you believe Love Heals good for you, I hope you're as inspired as I am. So with that, this is Malar from Hearts and Minds signing off for now. Next Friday, we hope to bring you another story, and join me if you can. Otherwise, listen in later. With that, have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.
Hello everyone, my name is Celine Chan. I am proud to be a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer stage 2 sometime in May 2017. important part of the healing process for me and getting through the whole cancer journey is having the person I love with me every step of the way. In my case, my husband, Colin, was the person with me and by my side throughout the whole process. He was with me at every doctor's appointment, understanding what steps were needed, asking the right questions, and also ensuring that I get the best treatment option. When it was time to make decisions, he and I both discussed options with the doctors, and we made the decisions together. He also participated with me in every cancer support group sessions, and that helps, yeah. And we made such wonderful friends along the way. So thank you, my darling husband, Colin. I love you forever.